Now we're rolling, and this is my friends that are helping me to build this car. I would not be able to build it myself. And this is Matthias.
Hello, I'm Matthias. I'm helping out Daniel with the engine management, fuel injection and the ignition systems, keeping the engine alive and healthy.
And Matthias, you have a lot of experience from these kind of engines, right?
Yes, I've been involved in projects with this kind of engine before, so that's why I'm here.
He's the engine expert. And then we have this guy on the left, Andreas.
Hi, I'm Andreas. I'm the welder, constructor, making plumbing. vet jag vad ska säga.
Basically everything, right?
Yes.
Yeah, that's good. That's fantastic. Couldn't do anything of this without these two guys, so thank you so much. So we have a lot of followers and a lot of people that want to know what we're doing, and they want to have some more in-depth technology.
Well, here's a guide to
yeah, perfect.
Meteor Interceptor. Around the engine we have components which are not standard. So we have two intake plenums, electronic throttle bodies, Bosch Motorsport 82mm, and then we have the exhaust manifolds removed, so we can't see them, but they end up here at the turbos, which are mounted at the front of the engine. And as you can see, we have a large intercooler as well. We can see it from the behind here, in front of the turbos.
The turbos, they're pretty big, right?
Yes, they are the biggest S500s you could buy from Borg Warner, so they should deliver what you need.
Yeah, I think they were tagged to 1,875 each, right?
Okay, well thank you, I don't know. I think Andreas is
I think that read a spec.
That's correct.
That's good.
And here in the front we're slightly disassembled here, but this is the fuel pressure regulator, so we have the fuel rails coming from the back to the regulator, and the return line is at the bottom of the V here in the engine. And here in the front we have removed some of the stock components. These are the magneto drives for the ignition systems, and we have removed them, blocked them off. So now we have the alternator, generator, whatever you call it in English.
Yeah, that sounds good.
And
sounds about right.
oil filter for the dry sump system.
Yeah.
And we have, instead of the starter motor, which is usually located here, we have the drive for the
Trigger wheel, right? Yeah.
and the trigger wheel for the engine management as well, so we know where the engine is. So we are thinking about adding a cam sync sensor, so we know exactly which cylinder is igniting at which point. And so we're thinking about adding one here at the top somehow, because there's an RPM output on one of the camshafts. So
Okay.
that should be easy.
What kind of ECU are we going to use?
We have decided upon the Max ECU Pro because it has the required number of inputs and outputs on such a big project. We need to be able to connect a lot of sensors to it, data log lots of things to make sure we have a healthy engine. Makes it easier to tune if you know what you're doing.
It's good. That's your job, right?
Yeah, that's our
Perfect.
profession.
Anything else we should mention?
Well, we have changed out the spark plugs, so we're using regular car spark plugs instead of the stock refurbishable ones.
Okay.
Yes. You can take them apart and make them
okay,
look
okay.
as new. But you can't get the replacement parts anymore for those, and
No,
they
of
are
course not.
also not good with radio interference, so we haven't planned on using those.
What about the heads on these cars or on these engines? They're not. I mean, it's a 4-valve, right?
It's quite a modern solution from the 1930s. Actually, nothing much has happened since then. But there's only one camshaft inside each head, so it's kind of old school, but it works terrific. And we have made some modifications to the way the intake works, because all of the intake runners share a common space. There's practically no intake runner at all, so we have made them individual ports. So that makes the engine produce a little bit more power, perhaps. It flows a lot more, at least.
And a lot of people have asked how much horsepower we're going to get from this, and we said that the goal is 2,500.
Yeah, lots.
But it's
Lots and
difficult to
lots.
know if we can get there, right?
Yeah, that's true. But we think we can make it,
That's good.
at least in theory.
Yeah. And the engines the Meteor engines that you worked with in the past, they've been supercharged, but not with turbos, right?
Yes, never with turbos, and we learned a lot from that because the engines actually produce a lot more power naturally aspirated than we think. So the superchargers that we used were too small actually. So we should have picked larger ones. So this time we have went with bigger turbos.
Big turbos. We like that, going big, right?
Shouldn't be a problem for this big engine.
That's good. We will remember that since it's recorded now.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, now we're inside the car.
Yeah, here is the back side of the engine, and the components you can see here are mostly ignition system parts up here. We have put our ignition coils here to be able to get more space because in the front it's already packed with things. And these are the coolant lines running from the heads to the back to the radiators. And here's a special custom adapter with a planetary gear made to increase the RPMs so that we can use regular gearboxes behind this engine because we couldn't put anything but the truck gearbox behind this if we had to not use this.
And what kind of gearbox are we going to have?
We're using a racing gearbox for regular V8 Pro Mods drag racing gearbox.
A TH400, right?
Yeah, true and tested.
Good.
So it should work.
Fantastic. And here we have the coolant or the radiators in the back.
In
right?
the back you can see the space for them and the pumps here at the floor of the car.
Yeah.
One beneath the driver, another on the other side, one for each bank of the engine. And you can also see the fuel filter for the fuel right there.
And when I say two banks, these are the V12 is actually like two straight sixes,
engines.
right? Yeah.
Yes, 2 straight 6 engines. So it's a good engine. A good straight 6 engine is even better with two banks of straight 6s.
Fantastic.
Should make a smooth running engine.
Perfect. Going to the grocery store, right? To buy
Of
some
course,
food.
that's the point.
That's
Isn't
this,
it?
the commuter car.
Yes.
And this is the rear of the car. So what do we have here?
Business in the front, party in the back, as they say.
Fantastic.
I don't know if that's true here, but we have fuel tank. How much was it?
I think 80 liters,
8
right?
liters, 20 gallons,
20,
something like that.
yeah, something like that. Yeah.
And here's the dry sump tank, with oil separation and everything. Above it we can see the radiator fans, the cage for holding the radiators in place. And we have some plumbing to do still, so we cannot see everything yet, but this is basically what we'll find. The batteries will be placed somewhere here. Before we do that, we have to find out what the balance is of the car, where the weight is, corner weighting as you call it, so we can place them at the proper position.
Yeah, we need some weight in the back of the car, right?
Yeah, that's the truth. That's true.
Kind of front heavy. The engine weighs is, what is it now, 600 kilos approximately?
Yeah,
After we stripped it from some parts?
Yes, we think so. And we won't be putting back as heavy parts as it had originally either, so should be good.
It's good. And here we have the inlet, the air inlet, to cool the radiators or to take in the air. This is custom made in carbon fiber. And what's called a NACA duct, right?
Yeah, NACA duct, from when NASA was called NACA, before they were called NASA, right?
That's cool.
At least that's what I've been told.
Yeah. So what is this, Andreas?
This is a brake chute,
Braking parachute, yeah, something like that, right?
maybe there.
Yeah, that looks good, right? Yeah, probably need that, right? When we come up to full speed.
Yes.
What was the approximate speed that you said with this gearing in the back end and
The theoretical top speed is 382
kilometers per hour, right?
kilometers, yes. You need a pretty long straight way.
Yeah, definitely. Then a braking parachute is probably a good idea, right?
Yes.
And Matthias, what are you up to?
I am constructing the ignition wiring, and I'm thinking about a problem, making them not too short and not too long, just perfect.
Perfect.
But I prefer having them too long than too short.
Of course. And working with green gloves, right?
Yeah, because I will be using a silicone-based
Yeah.
lubrication, and it can really mess up your skin. And if you get it on other stuff, it can ruin paint jobs and stuff like that.
So we appreciate that. That's fantastic. Cutting the wires.
I could use just any kind of cutter or something like that, but this is MSD's own good tool.
Professional stuff,
Professional
right?
stuff, yeah. So I'm trying to get a nice ending to these wires for the crimping later. And you have to be really careful about how to remove the end, because you might damage the core of the wiring. So I'm trying to be careful.
Good. We like that.
Yeah.
Ja, det ska vi göra med det.
Bra belysning.
Ja, jag
Jag ser allt. Having yoga lessons to get around.
Looking good.
Thank you. Let's see. Access all the ignition.
And quite a few spark plugs, right?
Yeah, 24 of them. So there's a lot of wiring and a lot of plugs.
But they look like really small spark plugs.
Yeah, it's standard car spark plugs actually. The stock ones are a bit different. They are rebuildable and not that good for electronic engine management systems. So we're using modern spark plugs.
It's good. Looking good.